Welcome back, YouTube, to another dose of common sense, logic, and reason. Today, we're going to talk about a common excuse that some blacks always use as a means of being able to excuse away black behavior and exempt themselves from any personal responsibility. That being the proximity card. If the discussion ever gets about how, as black people, we are our own worst enemy, that there are more blacks killed by other blacks, by the hands of other blacks, than any other means. Blacks are the ones that are committing crimes against blacks greater than any other group. If you ever say this or discuss this, the response that you're going to get from black people is, well, yeah, that is true, that blacks are committing crimes against other blacks more than any other means, but that's only because black people are quote unquote around each other. And I know y'all have all heard the around each other excuse, in that, well, people are more likely to commit crimes against people that they are around, and that white people commit more murders against other white people than by any other means. Well, is this true? Sure, yeah, it is true, and I won't disagree with that. That people are more likely to commit crimes against people that they are around. However, that does not excuse or explain away why blacks commit crime at such atrociously high rates, far higher than that of white people. There's no excuse for that. Now, if something is the greater danger to me, something poses the greater danger to me or you, then wouldn't that be your greatest concern? I would say so. It doesn't matter where that danger is. It doesn't matter if that danger is across the street from you or if it's on the far side of the moon. That still should be your greatest concern. That's like saying, well, I'm not going to be concerned about Russian ICBMs because they're in Russia, which is not in proximity to me. Yeah, but if Russia launched them bastards, I guarantee you they'll be in proximity to you in 30 minutes because that's how long they take to get here. So just because those ICBMs are in Russia does not mean, well, I shouldn't be concerned about them. But my biggest issue with this whole proximity nonsense is that, you often hear blacks crying about, police officers, police brutality, what police officers do to us. But here's the question. Are not police officers in proximity to black people? Are not police officers around black people? Yes. Are not police officers around black people who are committing crimes at atrociously high rates, which will dramatically increase the amount of times that black would have confrontations with police officers? Yes. I mean, we often hear blacks making cries against police officers, yet I never heard anyone say, well, hey, they are in proximity to black people, which they are. And there's numerous examples and cases, like stop and frisk. I've heard numerous black people make cries of stop and frisk and how this is quote unquote systemic racism. But in order to stop and frisk somebody, you have to be in proximity to them, right? I mean, how do you frisk somebody that you're not around? Now, I've never heard one single black person evoke proximity because of stop and frisk in New York, as well as other examples of heavy policing throughout the country in the black community. And by the way, stop and frisk was not implemented because of skin color. It was implemented because of high crime rates. But I never heard the proximity card evoked for it. And the Michael Brown case. Officer Darren Wilson was clearly in proximity to Michael Brown. Well, if Michael Brown hit him in the face, attacked the dude, tried to take his gun, and then charged him, it's not like Michael Brown was in Ferguson and Officer Darren Wilson was in Dallas, and he charged them across state lines. I mean, bullets don't travel that far, so obviously it had to be proximity. And what was the fallout of that whole Michael Brown case? Well, we see we saw mass protests spring up. Okay, we saw Black Lives Matter pretty much spring up out of the whole Michael Brown case. Did we see any proximity cards spring up? Not that I remember. And another case, Freddie Gray. Now, Freddie Gray in Baltimore, the police officers picked him up personally by hand and put him inside the back of the police vehicle. Again, if they picked him up by hand, then obviously it was proximity. Okay, they didn't load him in the back of the truck with cranes, did they? Okay, they didn't use the force. I don't think those police officers were Jedi. They picked him up personally, put him in the back of the police vehicle, which was proximity. Well, blacks cried and complained about it. And again, we saw mass protests about the Freddie Gray case. I mean, we saw that woman beat her son's ass for joining in a protest. Okay, she didn't beat his ass because of proximity. But I didn't hear anybody evoke the proximity card for that case. Eric Gardner, same thing. You know, Eric Gardner was the guy in New York, you know, who was selling Lucy's, a single cigarettes, and the police officers choked him. Now, if they choked him, obviously it had to be proximity, you know. It's kind of hard to choke somebody from long distance, well, unless you're Darth Vader. So, you know, the police officers, they didn't choke him from London. Okay, it wasn't MI6 that choked him. It was NYPD. Apparent proximity. Again, I didn't hear any black people evoking the proximity card for those police officers in New York. And then we have various other cases like the Philando Castile, Tamir Rice, you know, Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge. We've often heard blacks cry about these cases. Each and every one of them involve proximity of the police officers to those blacks. And we have the video to show it. You know, there's video of Tamir Rice being shot, the police officers pulling up shooting him. Okay, there's the video of police officers wrestling with Elton Sterling. Okay, there's a video of the police officer shooting Philando Castile. Each and every one of them, proximity, not one proximity call. And then there's Trayvon Martin, probably the one case of lately that black folks have cried about. You know, George Zimmerman was in proximity to him. I mean, if Trayvon Martin is on top of him pounding his head into the concrete, and George Zimmerman shot him at point blank range, well, obviously it was proximity. You know, George Zimmerman didn't shoot him with long range artillery, you know. Okay, he didn't shoot him with space-based weaponry. Okay, he didn't shoot him with one of those Russian ICBMs. Okay, he didn't shoot him from a long time ago in a galaxy far away with a Death Star. It was proximity. Now, what was the result of this? Well, of course, black folks bitch, moan, and whine and complain. Okay, we've seen numerous HBCU marching bands spelling out Trayvon Martin's name at halftime. Have we seen any of them spell out proximity? Not that I'm aware of. Now, how long, a question to black people, how long are we going to continue to hide behind these excuses? Because these excuses don't solve the problem of what's going on in the black community. But with that being said, if the proximity card is going to be used by black people to explain away black behavior, then the exact same proximity card should be used by police. I mean, they should also have the benefit of that proximity card. We can't have half-ass proximity, okay? Because police officers are around black people. And by the way, that same proximity card can be used for many things, you know. Donald Trump, people got upset because Trump said grab vagina. Well, how do you grab a vagina that you're not around? I mean, in order for you to grab said vagina, you must be in proximity of it. And I don't know how tall Donald Trump is or how long his arm is. I can imagine his arms has to be about maybe 3.5 to 4 feet long at best. I would consider that proximity. You know, you can't grab vagina over Skype. But I think that's more than enough information to absolutely destroy this quote unquote around each other argument. I mean, just because you are around somebody, it's not an escape clause to excuse it away. I mean, if you out at an outing with your family, you go to movies and dinner with your family, you come home and you see your neighbor burglarizing your home, are you gonna excuse that away as proximity and let him proceed to steal your shit? That makes no sense. I mean, the only logic I can come from that is that you saying, well, that's my neighbor, so I can always borrow my shit back. That's about the only logic I can conclude from that. Or you come home one day and you see your neighbor raping your daughter. You telling me that you're going to sweep this under the rug, under the guise of proximity? I mean, you're going to be more concerned about if he's wearing a condom? Because we only know kids walking around here. I mean, it's stupid. So the whole proximity card, or well, we are around each other, is no excuse to excuse away bad black behavior. Okay? It is no excuse for excusing away personal responsibility. And I know that some black people, when it comes down to personal responsibility, they react to personal responsibility like the vampire in Brooklyn in a church. I mean, they just don't want to hear it at all. But anyway, if y'all ever hear anybody pulls the proximity card crying about, well, black people are around each other, well, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Until next time.